The United States has fielded a long list of game-changing military aircraft over the years, but not every concept is a winner. So let's talk about the XF-85 Goblin, a teeny tiny little fighter designed by the same firm that would eventually field the air-powered juggernaut that is the F-15 Eagle. You see, in 1948, the US Air Force started operating an absolutely massive new bomber called the B-36 Peacemaker. In fact, it still has the largest wingspan of any combat aircraft ever fielded, and thanks to its emergence at the dawn of the jet age, it was actually powered by a combination of engines, with 6 conventional radial propeller engines turning, as they'd say, and another 4 advanced new General Electric turbojet engines burning. With all 10 engines roaring at full power, the B-36 had a whopping 40,000 horsepower on tap, enough to get the monster up to around 435 miles per hour. But more often than not, this behemoth cruised through the sky at closer to 230 miles per hour instead, to save fuel. Now, with truly intercontinental range and the ability to carry 86,000 pounds on board, this bomber became a testbed for all sorts of things, including a nuclear-powered variant that actually flew with a functioning nuclear reactor on board, and a version meant to serve as a flying aircraft carrier. But even the massive B-36 couldn't house full-sized fighters on board, and that is where the McDonnell Douglas XF-85 Goblin came into play. This single-seat fighter was 14 feet 10 inches long, with a 21-foot wingspan that could fold up to fit into the B-36's bomb bay. The aircraft weighed in at under 4,000 pounds and was powered by a single Westinghouse XJ-34WE-22 turbojet engine that produced a respectable 3,000 pounds of thrust. The turbojet would push the XF-85 Goblin to a top speed of around 650 miles per hour, with an operational ceiling of 48,000 feet. Very respectable performance metrics for its time. Now, to hold its own in a fight, the Parasite fighter was armed with 4 50-caliber Browning machine guns, and despite its small size and lightweight construction, the Goblin still had a fully functional ejection seat in case the aircraft was hit by enemy fire. But what it didn't have was landing gear. Theoretically, there would be no need for landing gear because this new Parasite fighter would not only be deployed from the belly of the bomber, but it would also be recovered by the same aircraft. A retractable hook on the nose of the plane would allow the pilot to close with a retractable trapeze beneath the bomber. The fighter would catch the trapeze with the hook and then be pulled into the aircraft. Now, 2 Goblins were made and tested out of a heavily modified EB-29B Superfortress, and on August 23rd of 1948, the first Goblin was released from its Superfortress mothership, about 20,000 feet above Muroc Field, which is now known as Edwards Air Force Base in California. The test flight went pretty well, but when the pilot tried to return to the aircraft, he just couldn't link up, ultimately running into the trapeze hook he was meant to attach to, which smashed through the canopy of the fighter and even ripped his mask off his face. But despite that, the pilot, Edwin Scotch, still managed to belly land the little fighter in the desert without much damage. Testing continued, and by October of that year, test pilots were managing to, at least occasionally, launch and recover their Goblin fighters in midair. But ultimately, mid-flight refueling made it possible to extend the range of much more capable, full-sized fighters to however far they needed to reach. And the idea of flying aircraft carriers just became, well, unnecessary, leaving the XF-85 Goblin as just another very weird footnote in aviation history.